we were talking before the break about HUD's avoidance of fulfilling a contractual obligation. I'd like to get even a little more into that and to know exactly what they did to do this, to actually lead to the termination of the contract. What were the, I mean, there had to be some performance issues or something that they cited, some reason, something that happened. And
one would think, but that's not the case.
it was not the case.
After the contract was signed in October of 2000, after 1.5 years of preparing a rehabilitation plan, which we all agreed upon, and then we agreed to a 4-year contract for subsidy.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, the former owner of the building, John Hayes, got a letter on December 6, 2000 from Veronica Coleman saying, I'm sorry, Mr. Hayes, to inform you that the contract was made in error. Therefore, the contract will be terminated as of December 31st.
Oh, the contract was made in error.
Yes, made in error. How was it in error? Well, we never did find out.
We didn't find that
But
out.
that was Veronica Coleman,
All right.
operating under the instructions of Ed Hinsberger, the HUD director in Chicago.
The director of HUD.
Yes.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Then into the process comes Gwen Thomas. And Gwen Thomas was the individual, the project manager from HUD, and her view was that she was amending the contract. So she wrote a letter to John Hayes on January 10th of 2001 saying, we are hereby amending the contract. The contract that was to be for 1 year and 3 automatic renewals is now for 3 months and no renewals.
Why did they do this? Why do you think they did this?
I think they did it because they wanted to give the subsidy contract, which is a guaranteed profit to whoever has one, to someone who is more closely identified with the interests of Chicago politics.
Ah, so.
I don't think anybody in Chicago would find that particularly novel or surprising, and maybe people would be bored by that comment.
City that works.
The rest of the world, in the rest of the country, may find Chicago's way of doing business sort of odd, atypical. And then they attempted to come up with the idea that there was an absence of decent, safe, and sanitary conditions, all of which were rectified properly by Mr. Hayes before I was there. So ultimately, in addition to that, to give you some indication, they wrote a notice of default on April 8th of 2001, citing all of these things, before they ever got the response from Englewood on April 9th. So this had all been a manufactured process. This was all set up by the combination, essentially, of Ed Hinsberger, Greg Guston, Mary Anderson, Veronica Coleman, and Gwen Thomas. And those
Did you have any kind of altercation with any of these individuals that might have led to this? Was it? Do you think it was personal or what?
I don't think so. I think the individual who was, all of the work was supposed to be done under the Departmental Enforcement Center, and that was a woman named Freddie Batchelor. Mm-hmm. And Freddie Batchelor was working in a very compatible way to correct the problems and develop the plan for the future. So the enforcement person responsible for this, Freddie Batchelor, was all in favor of this. It was simply the other people at HUD who were not involved. None of these people, I think with the exception of Gwen Thomas, had ever been to New Englewood Terrace. They never stepped foot on New Englewood Terrace. And they came up with all these ideas, largely, I think, architected by Greg Guston. I mean, he was the grand
Who was Greg Guston? What?
Greg Guston was in the Departmental Enforcement Center's lawyer. And since he was a lawyer, everybody deferred to his superior knowledge, and superior knowledge in quotes. And that carried the day with HUD, and they followed the Greg Guston plan through to not renewing the contract in October of 2001.
All right, we're going to go to break now, and we'll come back and talk a little more about this.
Okay.
Thank you.